Hi there, I'm Christine Conrad, and you're watching another or listening to another episode of Innovative Tac-Tips, where I interview industry leaders across all fields. And today I get a chance to pick the brain of a MVP of sports entertainment, Rob Thompson. He has a extensive background working for the NFL, working for Walt Disney. I could go on, but Rob, thank you for joining. I want you to let listeners know, what do you do? And what do you do and what makes your heart sing about it? What do you do? I guess what are you doing now? And then kind of maybe a little bit of a background because you lived it. So how did Rob Thompson become Rob Thompson today?
Oh God. Well, I think I describe it as I'm at the back nine of my career. I got all the receipts and I'm able to submit them for tax deductions, raised 4 kids, been married for 33 years. That's the foundation of my life. I married my college sweetheart, and we built a really great life together. And she was a major part of me being able to take risks in my career and move and relocate and she would have been a great coach's wife because she was ready to kind of pick up and move at any time. And we were very, very lucky that our kids turned out to be pretty good kids, and, I can't say that they're like every other people's kids. They're average kids that did pretty well, became good adults, and are kind of moving on with their craft. So let's start there. That's the foundation of my life is them. And they were able to support me in all the things that I did, whether it was being an entrepreneur at a very early, young age or, moving and relocating and kind of going up the career ladder with corporate, like you said, with the NFL and the Walt Disney Company. So, and then jumping back into entrepreneurship and ultimately going full circle and returning back to where New Haven, Connecticut, where my wife and I are both from. 30-something years later to take on a couple passion projects, one at my alma mater to raise money for the athletic department. So, that's my life in a nutshell. Currently, what I'm doing now is I started a sports innovation startup studio focusing on how innovation is impacting the way we watch, play, and consume sports. And I work primarily with college athletes at the high school and college level who are providing them with a pathway to entrepreneurship and helping them with with the guardrails and with the process and the game plan to do so. So Game Plan U, as you see below, for those listening, gameplanu.org is the organization I started. And we are a global, you could say, accelerator looking for and helping those that are looking to start whether it's a sports tech platform or whether it's a t-shirt brand or whether it's a new sport, grassroots sports, or it's a new way for people to live stream. It doesn't matter. It's all in, or it's a health and wellness or nutritional product.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes in that area. So that's what I've been doing. That's what my focus is on right now.
I love that because I think, again, so I'm on the cybersecurity side and we work with a lot of military veterans, and I kind of compare. I mean, it's not the same, right? Military, right? Same, but different, totally different, right? But I think there's a brotherhood, sisterhood, right? In that kind of environment. And sometimes when you're in it for so long, you kind of blinders on. And so there are other things, entrepreneurship, right? I think that there's grit and there's hustle and there's so much ambition when it comes to just the game of football, sports, just sports in general, right? To obviously win and progress. And I think it's awesome that you create a platform company. I shouldn't say platform company, but company, aka platform, right? For people to learn more and find out what their skill set is and kind of evolve it in a sense, or amplify it. And that's awesome because when you're in college, I always say, I'm a mentor for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Utah. And I tell my I'm I'm still trying to, I know what I'm good at, right? But I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, right? I'm still trying to, pivot and learn. And again, your career path is not linear. It's, you have setbacks and you get catapulted in certain areas. I had a call with a State Farm agent, and she's like, "How did you stumble up into cybersecurity to help, federal agencies and DoD contractors?" And I was like, "Well, that's a good question. I kind of stumbled on it, but it's you don't really know, right? Throughout your journey, you're didn't think I'd end up here, but here I am. So it's great that you're giving back, because Simon Sinek said what makes a good leader is to make other leaders, right? Like to really and leadership is not just a title, it's a way of life. And I guess from that, let's see. I don't think failure is like a definitive word, but I always like to ask this question because failures are, I believe, is like giving up. But was there a failure of yours early on that led later to a success in your career? And then do you have a favorite failure of yours that you remember that stands out, that you can share that would let other people know that like, I'm going through that too, or like there's ways that you like it turned out for good, right? It turned out for the better.
The good thing about being an athlete or in the military, but certainly being a former athlete,
Mm-hmm.
you fail a lot. You fail every day. You fail every play. You get back the
Mm-hmm.
next play 20, 30 seconds later, you get to make that up. You lose a game. It's a failure. You get to make that up the next game. So there's a armor and a calluses that you build, especially in your mind of, yeah, I lost that game. It was a tough game. Maybe we didn't do everything wrong. There was a lot of things that went right for us, and it was decided by inches on how we lost. That's how life is sometimes. You're always a second away or a decision away from not reaching out to that person you thought you should reach out to, or saying something stupid, or something you probably shouldn't have said in a meeting, or the email you wrote because you're emotional. We've all had those, and you learn from them, and you're embarrassed, and they're cringy, and you're like, oh my gosh, what the heck did I do? I blew up that relationship. But you learn the next time, and you're mindful of not making that mistake again. And that's what makes us human, right? It makes us, who we are. And I think if you could stop stacking up those losses and those mistakes, and you have enough kind of, your ego doesn't get in the way, and you listen more than you talk, and you really just are understanding of other people's emotions. I think that helps, and it helps you not make as many mistakes or failures. So yeah, I've started as many businesses and exited as many as I closed,
Mm-hmm.
and each one was like down to that inch wire of being a win or being a loss or timing or COVID, right? There's always going to be something, and you realize that life and in general is a lot of it is luck, and a lot of it is the people that you surround yourself by, and taking a moment sometimes to think about things that maybe you should or shouldn't do at a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think your failures and being able to come back, and I know it's very cliche,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many things like raising our kids. We raised our kids much different the first two than the last two. We made
Mm-hmm.
a lot of mistakes of being parents at 23 years old, and then we were parents up until, we had kids in our 40s. So we
Mm-hmm.
have a big span, 32 to 15 years old, at the span of age of our children. And
Mm-hmm.
you become a different person because you failed so many times of things that, as a parent in business, it all goes together, and you
Mm-hmm.
get better. You get
Mm-hmm.
better as you get older. That's the great thing
Mm-hmm.
about age,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like you've
Mm-hmm.
seen this movie before. You anticipate things because you've made so many dumb mistakes. Anyway, so that's what I can't put my finger on any one of them. Probably a couple of my businesses that didn't work out, but
Mm-hmm.
then you come back and you realize a lot of times it's not the business itself; it's the people that you have as partners, or the location, or the timing, or the service, or the pricing, whatever it may
Mm-hmm.
be. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that would be it. Yeah, that would
Okay.
be it.
Yeah. No, it's there's so many variables, right? There's so many. It's like go to market, right? Is a good time? Is all of that stuff? And to your point, it's like yeah, it's who you work alongside with, and it's like you have to both row the same direction. And if you're not rowing the same direction, that could put a damper on things, right? That could put a halt on things. So yeah, I think what is that saying? You turn out to be the five people that you surround yourself most with or like around. So that's a huge thing too, right? Character and just like following through and all of that stuff. Next question, kind of similar to it. So I'm a bookworm. There's so many books out there, right? I also love to ask, it's like a two-part question. So what is the book you've given most as a gift and why? And then what are three books that have greatly influenced your life?
A couple of them, and they're actually recent. The most recent is The Power of Who by Bob Bodine, and it's really about your network and the people around you. There's a thing called the 140 rule. So if you think about the 100 people that's in your universe, you really have 40 people that you could really rely upon that are cheering for you. So if you think about what those 40 people could do for you, so if you're in a position of you're needing a pivot in your life, a pivot especially in your career, or business development, or you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for people who really can help you, you
Mhm.
write out that list of 100, from your friends and your family and colleagues and people that you're around. You drill it down to the 40. So it's called the power of who. And it's just a great, if you're in that part of your life where you're making a pivot, or like someone who's, the old gray hairs like me, who are kind of the back nine, and you're trying to look at what's next and what could be significant in your life and making an impact, go to that
Mhm.
100, read a power of who. The other one is burn the boats, and burn the boats is Matt Higgins. So Matt Higgins is one of the partners and investor with Gary Vaynerchuk, who I'm sure 90% of people listening know who he is. Matt was the press secretary for Mayor Giuliano during 9/11. He went on to work for the New York Jets for a long time, and he's now with Stephen Ross and Gary. They invest in RSM, so it's a venture capital where they invest in startups.
Mhm.
Matt wrote a book. He grew up in poverty, and how he put himself, got his GED, put himself through law school, and just grinded, like figured it out. And he's such an incredible human being. He wrote a book called Burn the Boats. So if you're ever in that position in your life, again, where you're pivoting, or if
Yeah.
you want to become an entrepreneur or you want to change, that you really have to go all in on that idea and that concept, and you have to be brave enough and have the courage enough to burn your boats, and
Mhm.
just go. You're not getting out of this one until you
Mhm.
fight your way. The hardest thing about when you have a challenge, you got to fight your way through it. It's just sometimes when you're not doing well in a business, you got to spend your way through it, right? So
Mhm.
you can't as an owner sometimes chop a lot of headcounts to get rid of people. That doesn't always do it. That doesn't always work, right? You got to sometimes spend your way out of things and reinvest in things, and reinvest in people and assets and resources to kind of spend your way out of problems. Burn the
Mhm.
boats is a metaphor of all of that. So
Mhm.
if you're in that position of your life, the most recent book, I'll give you one more. It's called Fall in Love with the Problem, Not the Solution. And
Hmm.
it's Yuri Levine. And if you are an entrepreneur or you want to be an entrepreneur, it's
Mhm.
one of the greatest step by step books. And it's such an easy read or an easy listen with a lot of examples, a lot of
Mhm.
stories. It's so well written. And it is 100%. If you are a founder, entrepreneur, solopreneur, you have to read this book.
Mhm.
You have to read this book. There's so many great nuggets and inspirational pieces of it.
Mhm.
This guy is a serial entrepreneur. He created Waves, the app for road
Yes.
mapping.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Sometimes they have boy band, like when you can change the voice of it, and I'm like, this is kind of funny. Anyways, it
Yeah,
is funny. I get a kick out of that sometimes because sometimes, with no offense, Apple Maps, like they have a few different accents, but like Waze has definitely boy bands, right? Like where they sing, and you're like, oh, I could get used to
so cool.
this.
Yeah. So those are three books, and I think that they're just relevant in my life right now. Yeah.
Hmm. No, I that you hit. I don't know if it's a nerve or like maybe like a heartstring of mine because a lot of people think to peddle the product, right? Peddle the features or just services, right? Just the features, right? The good, so I guess like maybe the solution or whatever, like basically like what helps them instead of solve the problem, right? Like the pain point. Like it's about no one like data is great, telling a story with data is great, but like people buy from emotions, right? People, if it, I always say, be the aspirin to their headache or be the ibuprofen, depending on what, ibuprofen, Tylenol, whatever you want to, whatever brand, but it's like, be the remedy to their problem. And if you're the remedy to your problem, then it's like, great. And then be faster than everyone else because speed to service. So it's just like, I think sometimes people get so caught up. And again, I've worked with a lot of engineers and product people, and it's like they are product focused because they're so excited about how it's turning out, but they're not. It's almost they have blinders on to realize like, okay, what is the outcome that it's going to give to the person who's dealing with it, right? What's the outcome? And so I think that's a good book for entrepreneurs and just probably everyone in a company, right? Like you got to row the same direction. So I feel like you're going to get something from it. So with that, I guess if you had a gigantic billboard that reached billions of people, you could put a phrase, you could put like emoji, you could put like a paragraph, like what would you put on it? What would you put on it?
Entrepreneurship is a new internship. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're going to gain more experience in life in general, like, because at some point you're going to be unemployed, right? Or at some point you're going to start a
Yeah.
right. So I think I use this all the time. It's my tag because I work with a lot of students is be very careful where you spend your time through your career discovery process with an internship, because 60% of the time what you're studying in college right now, you are not going to go into that as a career, right? So you're better off starting a t-shirt company from your dorm room, and you're going to learn more about customer service, taxes, marketing, right? Product distribution, all of the necessary fundraising,
Hmm.
sales, right? Co-branding. You're going to project management, communication, marketing. There's so many soft skills that you're going to learn along that way, and you're going to find out a lot about yourself,
Hmm.
and it's going to lead you down through that. I call it your career discovery process of, maybe this is something. It's the beginning, it's the academy part of it, it's the foundation of your career. And if you know how to start a business, at some point you're probably going to be in the gig economy, on demand, flexible, fractional employee. That, hey, I've already started a business, so now I have self-confidence that if I started a business and I knew how
Hmm.
to drive revenue, number one, and understand cash flow, then you become a better employee at some point if you do decide to jump over. But guess what? You have an additional revenue stream that you can take that revenue and you can invest it in your fund. Okay, you can invest it in real estate, right? You could put it into, any other fund that you want to, long-term high yield growth. So you don't have to work until you're 50 something years old anymore. You have financial freedom. So if that company that you absolutely adore says, get bye-bye, we're
Yeah.
cutting, you're right. We don't have it. Our budgets
Yeah.
are cut. We're going to different. We got acquired by private equity. You're going to be out on your own as a free agent again. And guess what? You got your revenue streams coming in. So
Yeah.
I, entrepreneurship is the new internship, especially for students. There you
I
have it.
love that you said free agent because my dad was a business owner in the financial insurance era. Not he didn't work for Enron, or like he didn't help Enron, but like around that time. And he uses like, you're a free agent, like you're not. That's and I've been in so all my life. I feel like I'm I'm in my prime, right? So I'm in my mid 30s and I've been unemployed twice. Did I ever think that I'd be unemployed? No. But was it an ego blow? Yes, it was a big. But the thing is, like, you have to figure out how to reinvent yourself. And if you can brand yourself, if you can brand yourself, right? So like your type, like go to market, right? Your product. But I think to your point of like starting a business, if you can execute and you can deliver, that I think that's like 90% of not the problem, but I think that's the I think people have a growing opportunity to do. I think people are in school, you learn a lot, right? You learn a lot how to like manage processes and all that stuff, but it's like the execution piece of delivering it to a client, delivering to the partner, and making sure that it's a success. I think that's like 75% of the battle of like making sure you deliver it in one cohesive package, right? It could have band-aids on it or duct tape, right? But it's like it's delivered, right? You proved a product. And so I think that's a really good, that's a good like entrepreneurship is the new internship. I think that's okay. Yeah, I think that's good because you really learn about how to leverage your resources. And so that's awesome. With that, what piece of advice would you give to someone who is just starting their career? Like I guess, do you have like or maybe an advice that you would tell yourself when you were starting your career? Like, is there like a piece of advice that you could think like you can always resort back to and give yourself to give to others? Because I think we need to be reminded of those things sometimes because we forget that, you know, hey, let's self-reflect. So what piece of advice would you give yourself or that you did?
I give advice to my own children and the students that I work with and student athletes that I work with. I tell them that you're going to figure out what you don't want to do long before you discover a career that you love, right? So you're going to figure out you're going to just try everything, check it off the box. So if you went to school for accounting, try accounting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you figure that this is not what I want to do, guess what? You're going to check that off the box. You're going to move on to the next thing. Well, let me try marketing. Well, try event
Mm-hmm.
management. Well, let me try
Mm-hmm.
sales, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, you land on it. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, don't panic in your 20s. Your 20s are about discovery, right? You're going to
Mm-hmm.
discover who you are. You're not going to be part of that community that you had in college or fraternities or sororities or whatever it was, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of people go into the military, because there's a sense of community, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
why You know,
Mhm.
you're a student athlete because there's a community around you. When
Mhm.
you're out there on your own, you're lost, you're scared, and you feel like you're on your own and
Mhm.
alone. And you
Mhm.
are, because
Mhm.
no one's rooting for you anymore, right?
Mhm.
So you got out of
Mhm.
college, there's no one sitting around waiting to figure out how to help you, right? You're
Mhm.
on your own. So
Mhm.
try everything. And
Mhm.
remember that you're going to figure out what you don't want to do and what you hate doing long before you
Mhm.
discover what you love doing.
Mhm.
So don't panic. Don't panic, you know. So there's you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
There you
Don't
go.
panic.
Don't panic.
Now, I do have a question. Is there a way, I guess maybe self-reflection of like, how they say like, do what you're adept at? Is there a way to like maybe brainstorming? Like, is there a way, methodology that you use because you did entrepreneurship, right? So is there a way of like, like you said, figure out what you don't want to do first and then figure out what you are really skilled at? How would you, I guess, tell someone, is there any like working sessions or brainstorming sessions that they can do to figure out what they like are adept at? I guess to me, it took me a while, right? Like I would ask people, I'm like, what do you think I'm good at? And then I'd be like, anyway, so it's just like, is there a way that
Yeah.
you got there or like give to students today?
Yeah. So, I mean, all of this stuff is relevant because I talk about it every day, but
Mm-hmm.
I call it just a life advisory board. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you need mentors, you need people that you trust, people that are just going to be cheering for you, like family, like your parents, good friends. You need
Mm-hmm.
somebody that you see that has already done what you want to do or you look up to. And
Mm-hmm.
usually people, especially if you do it in college, because executives and people of influence are going to respond to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because especially of, hey, I'm a student at such and such school. I've been
Mm-hmm.
following you your career. I see the stuff you post. I would really, if you could give me 20 minutes, I'd love to pick your brain. Right before you, they're going to say yes, right? They're going to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the mentorship program, mentorships and advisors and people that you can surround yourself. I say pick 5 of them
Okay.
and find those people that maybe make you nervous. You know, that one person that will tell you the God's honest truth about yourself that
Mm-hmm.
you know it makes you uncomfortable, but you need that person to keep telling you that. You know, you need the person who's going to root for you and cheer for you like a parent, and everything's great that you do, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
there's a person that you don't really know that well, but's willing to talk to you, reach out, you know, talk to you once a month, once every couple months because you have a question that really is in an industry that you idolize a little bit, maybe, and that person's going to open up some doors and introduce you to. So and if you get in early enough and say you work for a company, there's that person that maybe you don't report to, but it's in a different department. That's probably a VP or someone that, man, that's who I want. I want to be that woman when I
Mm-hmm.
get to that level. Take her out for a coffee, have her meet with you for coffee or buy her lunch, right? And just ask her, how did you do in your career? How did you overcome this? How are you a working mom and still being able to juggle what you're
Mm-hmm.
juggling? Or if you're just a kick-ass entrepreneur and she
Mm-hmm.
has 4 kids at home and she's still able to like look sharp and be on her game about like how does she click? How does she do it? What is it? Is it exercise? Is it religion? What is it that makes you that way? And that's what I would say. Find those people. Get don't if you're going to find them on social media, find them on social media because you're going to however you find them. But pick up the phone, reach out to them, connect with them. Don't hide behind social media to figure out your career. Right? You have to. No one's waiting to help you, so you have to reach out. Just like you reached out to me to make this connection and say, I want to
Yeah.
will you spend 20 minutes with me, Rob, and answer some questions? I'll do it all day long. So
Yeah.
there you go.
And yes, what is a Wayne Gretzky, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? You might as well you throw a Hail Mary, right? I think the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a no. And I think I always chase the no because I want to get to yes. And so Never Split the Difference is a favorite book of mine. And like, I've always been like, okay, instead of asking why, anyways, just, yeah, do it. Just start. Yeah, my grandpa
Yeah,
always said, start somewhere. So I've got like 3 last questions for you. One of them is, what is the most worthwhile investments you've ever made? It could be money, time, energy. It could be all the
I
above.
think it's I think it's been time in relationships have
Mm-hmm.
always been, I think, the thing that I did naturally. So
Mm-hmm.
from when I got to this point in my life, I didn't have to fake relationships anymore because I had years of just helping people,
Hmm.
and being what I've always prided myself as an honest business partner, whether it was at the Disney company or as an entrepreneur. I think all those, I'm cashing in all those chips now. So time invested in relationships is probably the best investment you can make. The last one is I invested in rental properties and real estate. And that has given me a foundation. And I wish I did it 20 years ago, but that has given me a foundation of a little bit of a being able to sleep at night. It's not easy at first because it has to, you have to build up
Hmm.
and but when you get there and you start seeing the kind of results of what
Yeah.
your portfolio looks like, it's really a great way to do it, especially if you're around universities and hospitals for traveling nurses and
Mm.
students. And if
Yeah.
you could Airbnb it, so if you're sort of in a place
Yeah.
that it's a little bit more of a destination location, you got to have three different areas that you could go into if the
Yeah.
market softens.
Yeah.
I would say figure out how to save 25 to 50 grand, or take it out
Hmm.
and borrow it from your 401k and dump it into rental properties.
My great uncle, I was like, it's not great, it's great. He did laundry mats. So he
There you
did
go. A great
like,
cash flow business.
yeah, laundromats, which again, yeah. But yeah, to your point, yeah, I like that. Yeah. And it's good. And it's a good practice of like owning a business in a sense, right? Like your profit margin, what's going out the door, what's coming in, all that stuff. It's just, like balancing not your checkbook, but like obviously the business checkbook. It's a good way to do that.
The only, and I'll give you this example real quick, because I got, both of our time is crunched, but if you look at restaurants and if you look at those old pizza places that have been around for 50, 60 years, the reason why they're able to stay in business is because they own the real estate. Those old school, right? They would buy, you got it, like hair salons, things like that are cash flow businesses. They are able to afford real estate earlier on. So you see restaurants that were like, man, that was a great restaurant. See packed all the time. But how did they go out of business? It's because they didn't own the real estate, right?
Mhm.
They put all this money into upgrading the restaurant and make it, but they didn't own the real estate, so they're just flushing money away. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
real estate, invest in it.
Yeah. Second last question. What are you cooking up behind the scenes? Can you share anything with us? What you're doing?
Yeah, so we're working on a global chapters of Game Plan U, which is, like I said, it's a startup studios focused in on sports innovation. So we're looking to partner with chapters, so whether they're VCs or whether they're universities that are entrepreneurship programming, that are looking at deal flow within that kind of that vertical of sports innovation technology. Then we're building that mousetrap.
That's cool. That's really cool. The last question is, where can people find out more about you and your work? You said Game Plan
So
U, but yeah.
GamePlanU, GamePlanU.org has everything in there.
Hmm.
Obviously, if I'm happy to, the best way to connect with me and to communicate with me is on LinkedIn. So I'm heavily in there every day and DMing and communicating that way. So GamePlanU.org. If you're watching this, obviously down below, if you're listening, it's Game Plan with just the U. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.